We don't want to strike, but we've had our hand forced by what the government is doing to us. It's the last resort. The union has tried to engage the government in lots of negotiations and it hasn't worked.
I'm just disgusted at the way the government are just taking money off us. I know for a fact that there is enough money in the pension pot to pay all our pensions, and they're trying to skim off more to pay to the bankers, and it's just not right. We're fed up with it, and it's just not fair.
I'm here to support everybody because, I can't afford to tighten my belt anymore, and I don't see why food should be taken out of my kids now, and I want to safeguard their education as well.
I'll probably teach until like 70 or something. I've changed the goalpost again, so I'm not expecting to retire at 68. I imagine they'll be moving it again. I'll be struggling when I'm 70, I imagine. I won't be out on the football pitch quite as much or anything like that. So.
It looks, the last 2 years, to having no pay rise. By the last budget report, it looks like I'll probably have another 7-year no pay rise possibly. I'm taking a cut in my recruitment and retention money for working in the secure units. I am going to have to pay more for my pension. I'm going to have to work longer, and I'm not going to be able to in my job. I'm going to have to change my job somehow. And I just feel the whole thing is all about cost effectiveness and not clinical effectiveness. And as a nurse, I find it disgusting and despicable.
I can't afford to tighten my belt anymore. I'm faced having to come out of the pension scheme if the government's plans go ahead. I'm a low-paid worker, and I'd like everybody to take that into account.
I stand to lose £290,000 with these cuts for my pension. I don't want to be working until I'm possibly in my 70s. That's not good for the children either.
Our pensions are being attacked by the government, and they've put out a lot of myths about how unaffordable and expensive they are, when in actual fact the average NHS pension is only £5,600 a year. Now, in 2008 we made sure that the NHS pension was affordable. That was a deal done whereby the employer's contributions were capped. So if it became unaffordable, us as the employees would have to pay the extra. Now, this deal was made in 2008 and it still stands and it is still affordable. The NHS pension scheme has generated £2 billion surplus this year for the Treasury. So the government can't stand there and tell us that our pension is unaffordable.
The country's going downhill faster. They're taking us back to the Victorian age. Some of the biggest issues, housing, health service, everything has come under attack for ordinary people, and I think it's time that we made a stand and fought for it.
The promise that's broken is that working people agree to defer some of their wages until they retire. And if we're not getting that, and we're being told we have to work longer for less and pay more, that is somewhere between a broken promise and a breach of contract.
I do not believe in the fallacy that our pensions are not affordable. We actually went on strike 7 or 8 years ago, and the deal was then struck with the then government, which actually did provide affordable and decent pensions for all civil servants.
I'm here today because I've lost part of my pension because Mr Osborne has recalibrated teachers' retired pensions from retail price index to CPI, which means probably losing £10,000 at least over the next 15 years. I'm also here to support my partner, who's in that age gap, who will be having to take her pension much later because of changes to the pension rules. I'm here to support the low paid and to stand up against George Osborne's class war against the poor and underprivileged.
Here on strike because I think it's a wider picture. It's the enormous cuts to the public service and everything done by a government which is made up of millionaires and very rich people with probably no link and no touch to what the base is feeling, what people on the ground are feeling.
I do feel that for younger people it's going to have a real impact. People haven't had a pay rise won't have had a pay rise for the last 2 years, and we're now being told that there's going to be a 1% pay rise only.
When you're ruled by a load of millionaires, they don't care about the public sector. We know that the public sector are paying for the mistakes of the banking system.
I'm quite angry about the attempts to cut people's pension on the basis of what happens to the overall situation, the bankers, and I haven't figured out what it would mean for my own pension and how much I have to pay more. But I don't think that's entirely necessary, because the principal issue is that it's an unfair process anyway, and it shouldn't happen in this way, and that's why I'm joining in and supporting people.
I'm a senior civil servant. I've worked through the ranks. I was on strike in 1981 when the public sector felt insulted by Mrs Thatcher's government. I work on policy and trying to prop up the government, the economy. This is not the way to do it. It's alienated public sector, and regardless of what anybody says, the country needs them.
The pension is affordable, and it's for our future that we're doing this. The government are taking our money, and we as radiographers are losing it.
It concerns me that younger people coming into the public services are going to have far worse pension schemes. Statistically, it's been shown that public sector workers actually put more into their pension. If you give people, if employers contribute to a pension, then employees will do more saving, and at some point the state will have to pick up the private sector deficit of pensions. And again, that sickens me that it's put as a public versus private issue when it's everybody's issue.
Part of having an equal and just society is providing for people in their old age when can no longer work for whatever reason, and it would be an absolute disgrace if people were allowed to age in poverty.
And I think more people should stand up for it. I can't believe that the high student fees, the major public cuts go through and people are not protesting against it.
Stand up for your right. Get up, stand up. Don't give up the fight. So we won't give up the fight. So we won't give up the fight. So we won't give up the fight. Don't give up the fight. Get up, stand up, my money. Stand up for your right. Get up, stand up. Don't give